Hello, let's break down the top 10 cards for uncommons and commons. These are cards that you might want to pick up for your new deck types. We're going to rank them. There's 10 cards, and then there's these two honorable mentions, and let's get into it. So, Expand the Sphere, I think, has some playability in Pioneer in general. The question is more, is this better than Cartograph for Survey? It basically looks at one more card for a land, but if you whiff on Survey, this is better, right? Because you get to proliferate. There has to be a deck, I think, where it's a planeswalker based ramp deck that like I guess Ugin would be perfect for this list. So that way you can proliferate your planeswalkers that hopefully push you into the correct direction where you want to ramp. Now, Scamp here is basically only notable for one deck and in Pioneer, and that is Warrior Hammer Time. It is a warrior. There's essentially 8 copies of this thing. So that way, whenever it dies, it deals damage based on its power to any target. So you put a hammer on this, you hit face. The difference between this card and the other one is this one can make you sack itself. So you deal damage to him for what? 12 or something like that. Sack it, deal the rest. So that is a one-shot kill, potentially on turn 2, which might be what this deck needs to be constructed playable in Pioneer. Let me know down in the comments if there are some honorable mentions that, after you watch this video, that you guys would like to see, would have liked to be talked about. So let's get into the top 10 list. Hello, it's your host, KebbieG. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, also the bell notifications. Don't forget to check out the sweet stuff that's down in the description down below. Number 10 on my list is Armored Scrap Gorger. Now, this is actually a card that recently just got into this list. I originally had the, 2 ramp spell card as number 10, but after thinking about this card, I really like it for multiple reasons. So turn 2, it's a mana dork, right? Which is pretty deep. It's pretty reasonable. It also late game can become a threat, a 3/3 attacker. What I really like about this card is if you are a instant speed based deck, right? So you can tap this guy at instant speed. You could eat a Parhelion, right? Because it is graveyard heat, essentially attached to a mana dork. So it's kind of very versatile, I guess. So I don't know if the fact that it loses hexproof, it's probably better, honestly, than the ability of hexproof, right? Because I totally get you don't want to be blown out by your 2-drop mana dork. Tap for any color, which is good. It becomes a threat, 3/3. That's good. It also exiles graveyards cards while it's turning through your deck, or helping you ramp. I think it's actually a really good card. The flavor text: eat, sort, eat, sort, eat. That's funny. All right, so let's get into number 9. Number 9 on our list is Unnatural Restoration. This card is honestly one of the best of this type effect. If there is any deck that in green that you want to get your permanents back, and also you care about proliferating, you have some counters, rather it just be like getting back a hardened scales, right? That kind of deck would want to have proliferate attached to its ability to get a card back, which is quite amazing. And honestly, I think this card has some decent, it's pushed enough where I think it could see like a 1 of 2 of in a 60 card constructed playable deck in Pioneer, but I don't think it's going to go past farther than that. It's also pretty decent for Commander if you are into that format. Let's get into number 8 on our list. Experimental Augury. I really like this card. This is probably one of the most efficiently costed proliferate cards. And we talked the other day about on our sleepers video, I think this is one of the best cards to be paired with that new artifact that reduces by oil counters. This helps you proliferate your oil counters. It also is pretty decent in control. So when you drop down into fairy, you can get to its ultimate faster. So it's good in control because it's instant speed. So that is one of the primary decks that actively would like to proliferate and have instant speed card draw. And it also helps with Wandering Emperor. So There's a lot of versatility at this common. It's also probably good for Pauper, if that is your thing. So let's get into number 7. Number 7 on our list is Kinger Bloom. It's a 2 mana 3/2 that you can at any point sacrifice it, destroy an artifact, enchantment, or proliferate. So what's sweet about this, it's 1 less mana, 1 less green than the potential, in my case, Thrashing McGee's, which is a 3/4 for 3. And it allows you to proliferate instead of just only artifacts and enchantments. I think this card is actually relatively statted, bodied-wise. So I really like this card. It's also a fungus, which I guess is kind of relevant if you are a fungus player. All right, let's get into number 6 on our list. Number 6 on our list is Bring the Ending. And I really like this card. Now, you might argue in Pioneer or in Modern, why play this over Counterspell? Infect, that's basically the only deck this was play in. There has to be a blue-based Infect deck that wants to deal damage to the opponent while leaving up counter magic. And I think that this could be that card, because unlike the previous edition of Counter Matter Counterspell for 2, it's still, early in the game to protect your threat. It's still, they have to pay 2, which is a fine rate. And then it becomes just a strictly better counterspell. Since, Infect decks typically are Simic, so not having to be double blue might help the deck with consistency issues. And honestly, I don't think it's that difficult in transition between, the pay 2 and it being, corrupted, right? Because it's probably 1 hit, done, right? They might probably get like 6 poison counters. By that point, like I said, it's just a counter spell. So I like this card for that deck. There's probably also an Infect deck in Pauper if that is a relevance to you as well. Pioneer, I don't really know if this card actually makes the cut, just because there's not really a toxic player that can produce enough toxic to make it worth your time. I like this card. Let's get into number 5 on our list. Number 5 on my list is Voidwing Hybrid. This card is really awesome. It's a bat, which is, I guess, kind of cool. Flying 2/1 for a blue and a black. What's really awesome about this card, not really the toxic, I guess that could be cool, but I like about this card is the proliferate clause. So if you mill this thing, you could keep getting it back to your hand, block. If this thing had Death Touch, it would, instead of toxic, it would be perfect. But it's a pretty good uncommon. I don't know if this is going to actually Secret Shot to play in Pioneer or not, but I think this is a card that you could argue that it is decent enough in a Proliferate Matters deck. I think it's solid overall. Especially if you're playing Standard, I like this card even more because it's probably reasonably statted for Standard. So let's get into number 4 on our list. Number 4 on our list is a little bit of a removal. Ossification. Enchant target basic. And you exile target creature or planeswalker until this leaves the play. It's kind of Chain of the Rocks, uncommon. The one downside is you have to be running basics. So if there is a deck, a 1-color, 2-color deck that runs a decent amount of basics that is in white, this card is really good for removal, especially except in Pioneer. Modern, there's probably much better options. You probably would just end up running Prismatic Ending. So it's not really for that. So I really like this card. You get answer, of course, best answering stuff that is more mana value than this, and it should do quite a good job at filling that role within your removal slot in the format. And I also like the fact that it answers Shieldred, so that way, unlike like a passive effect, answering a Shieldred is quite awesome in Pioneer. Let's get number 3 on our list. Number 3 on our list is a card that I'm hopeful for Modern, and Modern only. We have Coldar Rebirth. Actually, this could be a decent card in Pioneer. And what I like about this card is it's, for one red, show target artifact. So it could be used offensively, or in a different manner. You could just target your indestructible land. You get 3/1/1s, and you don't go down an artifact. Or you could blow up an artifact that wants to be destroyed, like a Wellspring or something like that. So I'm really excited about playing a budget deck. I already brewed it. I think it should be decent in the next season. And we have this card along with Rebirth. Hopefully we can make a decent amount of goblins and then give them all that sweet bushwhack type effect. So let's get into number 2 on my list. Number 2 on my list is Shieldred's Edict. It's a really good edict effect that is for Pioneer. I don't necessarily know if it breaches into Modern. It could, since it exiles a you could have the flexibility of not making your opponent sack a token. When it comes to the Edict effect, it also makes them sacrifice a Planeswalker. It's instant speed. It's relatively cheaply costed. I don't think there's ever a time where you're like, you know what, I really want you to eat that freaking token. So that's probably not really what this mode will ever do. But I do like the fact that it prevents your opponent from sacrificing useless token to save their Shieldred. So it's kind of sweet to be able to kill that. So let's get into the number 1 uncommon / common in this entire Phyrexia All-Be-1B set. Let's be honest here. This card is strictly for Modern. Pioneer is not at the point where it's mana efficient enough to be able to make this card really good. It will probably be decent over time when Pioneer gets more and more great 1-drops. But in Modern, there's Ragavan. This thing gets all the Cascade. So the Rhinos, the Living End, it gets their best card. There's a lot of that this card is doing. Even if it's 1 mana, counter their bobble, right? Like, get that crap out of here. You don't get to card draw. So I love the fact that this is 1 mana. It might make Snapcaster better, right? Because 1 mana counter spells are really good with Snapcaster Mage. And I'm super excited about maybe trying that as a possibility, especially since Snapcaster has kind of fallen out of favor in Modern. And I love bringing cards back from the brink of death, and I love Snapcaster Mage. So this card, I imagine a best case scenario, it's a 2 of in the main board and 2 of inside, right? That's best case scenario. I don't think you would play more than that main because there is definitely matchups where this is dead. But I think for the most part, a lot of matchups, even like the Rakdos Scam list, you still get Ragavan, DRC, like they're Esper Sentinel, Hammer Time, Sigarda's Aid. There's just like so many decks in Modern that live off of 1-drops. So if there is any card that I missed, let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification. That way you can be alerted when the next video drops, which is the 10 best cards in the entire set, which are mythics and rares. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Talk to you then.